Welcome to a game between DanWarior and Fine. This replay was requested by DanWarior, starting here with Rubers and a support commander. And here you can see Fine also starting with Rubers and a support commander. It looks like DanWarior will start pretty economically with the Mason as the first unit. And yeah. And Fine just makes a single dart for scouting early game. Darts are pretty nice, they're quick and they can go out and scout the map quite fast. So, and you can see here DanWarior is doing some reclaiming of energy. That's something you can do on this map, but I would try to focus on getting the mexes faster, like he has a surplus of energy right now, while his opponent is getting his third mex right now. Meanwhile, you can see the dart here, yeah, it's Fine is microing it and trying to just scout and see if he can get a kill on a wind generator or slow down a mex or such. Darts have slow damage, so that's useful for slowing down mexes, even though they don't have a lot of DPS. With just 35 DPS, they take quite a while to kill a mex. Compared to Scorcher, which has point blank range, has 300 DPS. So yeah. So a Scorcher has potentially almost 10 times or like 9 or 8 times as much DPS. But that's at minimum range, because Scorchers do less damage at range. And yeah, you can see here, they're both walking. DanWarior made another con. Yeah. At this point, I think you should put your expanding commander on high priority. And I guess he wasn't paying too much attention to this, and he just drove into the enemy Scorcher. So yeah, chasing Scorchers, you can't really chase down Scorchers because if you drive into the projectiles, they're gonna do more damage because yeah, the projectile doesn't have to travel as far when you're driving into the Scorcher. So the weapon basically does more damage. This is a pretty nice raid by DanWarior. He comes in here and picks up 2 mexes. Oh, and that was sad retargeting there, not getting that metal extractor. Yeah. Scorchers like to target enemy raiders first, so if you don't give them a specific attack command on that. And this one, it's kind of driving into the commander, but it might even... Oh, it gets 2 Scorcher that was on low health, so that's nice. Meanwhile, DanWarior is a little bit slower, but his rating is decent, so yeah, it's pretty even. His commander is idle. Yeah, he should move it out now. Yeah. Oh, this is a bad metal stall by Finestep. You can see here that... How much is he accessing? Yeah, you can see he started accessing here. Because he forgot to build energy. Apparently. So yeah, that's a pretty big stall. Pretty big blunder by Fine. So that is gonna make up for quite a bit of DanWarior is behind on expansion currently. But yeah, he's getting there, he's moving out with his commander. I also prefer to go to this spot for expansion, and yeah. Once you got... It's hard to break through here after the first few minutes, because yeah, if the enemy builds a turret, yeah, it's hard to get through, and it's also really hard to get anything done here, basically. So yeah. And here DanWarior is chasing it. Yeah, he was taking a lot of damage trying to chase down another Scorcher. So yeah, that's not a good idea. But keeping the enemy contained like this is good if you can avoid losses, because yeah, then you don't have to defend all this area. And yeah, you are much safer at home. And it looks like DanWarior is going to go for a slower composition. Like, if you're Rubers, typically you stay and spam Scorchers, but it looks like DanWarior will opt for a slower combo with Fencers and Rippers. It's a really hard combo to if you can't outmaneuver it and avoid it, it's really hard to counter Rippers combined with Fencers for, yeah, most matchups really, especially in this matchup. There is really no good counter to Rippers and Fencers, I'd say. Maybe Ravagers if they get a good flank, but otherwise, yeah, you have to avoid it mostly and try to go around it. Yeah, but it's relatively slow, a relatively slow combo. And yeah, and it looks like Fine's economy is finally stabilizing. He's still excessing a bit, but you can see he excess a lot of metal here. So yeah, that puts him, that puts DanWarior way ahead. So at this point, yeah, your enemy could have 700 more value out, so that would be dangerous for you. But with this combination of units, when you just see Scorcher, you probably want to push. It depends. Like, this map is decently easy to defend. Like, you can go... yeah, if you keep this area defended, yeah, you're in a good position. But you were a bit out of position, so it looks like you will lose this point. And at this point, you should probably not chase them. You should probably just try to push instead, because this is a good combo. And if you just have something, I guess... And what's your commander doing? I don't understand why you moved your commander there alone. Will you get the enemy commander? This will be so close. Oh, 133 damage. If you had just been a little bit closer, that your explosion of your commander would have done more damage to the enemy commander, and it would have died. So it was close. That would have been a draw, basically, and that would have been a much better situation for you. And your forces are now split up, and you only have one level here. That's not optimal when you're facing Scorchers. Like, enough Scorchers can overwhelm this and defeat them pretty cost effectively. So yeah. Considering that you didn't have any fast unit, it was an even bigger mistake to move your commander here. But you can see here, the Scorchers have real issue trying to close the distance. And yeah, they don't get a single kill here. Okay, they get one Ripper there, but yeah, that's, you're being very cost effective with this attack. And if you just keep pushing now, you might be able to break into the enemy base. It depends. The enemy is trying to counter this with Ravagers, and that's arguably the best counter. But still, there's a mass of units here. And yeah. Let's see how the Ravager does. Yeah. They can, even the splash damage from the levelers can help them. And it looks like it's doing decently. And you have your own Ravagers here. They help a bit, but not too much. Personally, if I want to protect my fencers, I prefer to use Scorchers. And if you have Rippers and Scorchers, Scorchers generally do better than Ravagers to defend against enemy Ravagers. Because Ravagers, they're kind of hard to hit for other Ravagers, and they will tend to miss a lot if they're moving. So then the Ravagers will miss quite a bit, while Scorchers have a lot more DPS and won't miss as much usually. So yeah, Ravager are decent at overrunning Rippers as well. So yeah, this is decent response from Fine. But you are killing some X's here. You lost your initial army, but still, you're still doing pretty well with your army. Even diving in with Ravagers like this, you're not Fine Step is not being that cost effective. So yeah, you can see how you have a big advantage here. But here again, you're having the enemy is just spamming Ravagers right now, and you just have some Fencers and Ravagers. I would probably try to retreat with my Fencers against this to preserve them, because Ravagers aren't they're almost the same speed as fencers. So there is like plenty of time to retreat fencers if you want to against Ravagers. You don't need to take this fight. If you just start retreating, you can retreat all the way back to your defenses here. So yeah, like yeah, 88 speed versus 84. Yeah, the Ravagers are gonna take forever to catch up to the fencer if you just retreat in time. So yeah, you could basically retreat all the way to your base. And here it looks like you are making kind of a big mistake. You're morphing this geothermal while you don't have enough energy at the moment. Yeah. And that's a pretty big deal here, because if you, instead of trying to morph this, you would have had a lot of Scorchers out on the field, yeah, it would have been a lot better for you. They could have prevented yeah, you could have defended the fencers, you retreated the fencers and then defend them with Scorchers. And personally, I don't really like Dominatrix in the Ruver matchup. You could argue they're decent in defense against Ravagers, but they don't really have any other good target than Ravagers. And even Ravagers, they're relatively expensive, so it's not that hard to just overrun Dominatrixes with even Ravagers. So unless you're putting your Dominatrixes right in front of your line, I guess you were trying to rely on your fences, but then they died. So yeah. If you have then they could work against Ravagers, like a combination of Fencers and Rippers and Dominatrices. But yeah, right now you just lost them. You lost 1200 metal there. That could have been Scorchers, and the Scorchers, 1200 metal Scorchers would have dealt with these easily. And now you're also losing this position to this commander on low health. This all stems from the problem that you're trying to morph this, and you don't have enough energy while you're doing this. So if we look at metal excess here, yeah, your enemy has excess 850 metal, while you're just starting to excess metal now here. And this lack of units on the field and this expensive slow dominatrixes, like look at how slow these are. In other matchups they're decent, they're not as slow compared to other units, but in this matchup they're just woefully slow. You don't, yeah. Even against the best, like the best use is capturing Ravagers from a defensive position. But yeah, like in this position, the enemy goes in and yeah, you either have to choose if you want to try to retreat and keep them alive, or if you want to try and actually keep that position and capture them. And the enemy just drove away without even being captured. So besides, like, yeah, Scorchers, they're not a good target, they're pretty cheap, can easily overrun Dominatrices. Fencers, they outrange them and are pretty cheap, so they really counter Dominatrices. Rippers, yeah, I guess. They're almost the same speed, so against Rippers, yeah, okay. Dominatrices are okay. But yeah, Ravager are kinda too fast with 88 speed, and yeah, Badgers, no, they're faster. Darts are super good to counter Dominatrices, if there are not, like, okay, Fencers kill Darts pretty easily, but yeah. So yeah, this response with just Dominatrices is a pretty bad response against pure Ravagers. Like being defensive and like keeping line of fences with Scorchers and Rippers, that works decently well against Ravagers. Especially as considering that you had the metal income advantage. But then you lost it still, so yeah. So you finally morph your advanced geothermal, but yeah, you lost this expansion, this expansion, this expansion, and this expansion to get it basically. So, and this expansion. So yeah, you lost a whole map to make this advanced geothermal, and you also accessed how much? Yeah, you accessed like 500 metal because of it. So yeah. And what you haven't seen yet is this airplane plant. Like, that's also a thing that you can do in a Ruby mirror. Even if you spam just pure Scorchers, if you get out a Thunderbird, you can just stun a line of fencer. You disarm them with the Thunderbird, because the Thunderbird has disarm damage, and then it's just an easy follow up with Scorchers. But yeah, getting out that first Thunderbird, that's like 1,250 metals, so it's not for free and cheap exactly to get out that first Thunderbird. But once you got it, yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah. And this is a large Ravager ball, which is kind of hard to deal with for Rubers in some sense. Like, I wouldn't recommend using Dominatrices against this. Yeah. Like, Scorchers, it's the same thing. Like, Scorchers do less damage at range, so trying to chase down the Ravagers is bad. But the Ravagers can't chase down the Scorchers either, because they tend to miss units, so yeah. It's also like a positional game where you have to be really careful with how you use your... you don't want to change Ravagers with Scorchers. Well, the Ravagers don't really want to chase the Scorchers either, so yeah. But this amount, you don't have enough units to counter this at this point. It's... you let this Ravager ball get big, and yeah, you lost your early Dominatrices, which was just a waste against the Ravagers. And yeah, okay, you stop making Badgers, that's good. Because yeah, Badgers don't do much against Ravagers. Yeah, Ravagers are decently tanky, and Badgers don't do much to them. Yeah, so at this point you're pretty far behind in, yeah, almost all respects. And yeah, Finestep hasn't really used his air to anything. He made like 2 bombers and they're not really doing anything, so yeah. Yeah, Dars are also pretty good against Ravagers. Like, they can slow down the Ravagers down. And yeah, it's a decent unit against Ravagers. Like, Darts, arguably a decent counter if there's nothing else. It's like Darts and Scorchers against pure Ravagers. Now that there are Rippers out as well, yeah, it gets harder. Because, yeah, you're too far behind. Yeah, so by now you're just getting overrun by the enemy, and yeah, there's not much. Yeah, I don't know really. Fine was even being extra safe, building some extra hacksaws here. And that's not enough damage to kill it. In this position, what would you do? I mean, having a few fencer is decent to do damage at ranged badgers. When you're up against your defensive wall like this, badgers are okay. As long as the enemy doesn't have just enough ravage to just push up the hills here, and just move onto your badgers, you're pretty fine. So yeah. But yeah, you don't have much of a defensive line here. It's maybe something you can do on this map if you hold this line and maybe control these mixes. Yeah, you're still in a decent position. That's basically like that's basically what Feinstep had. Like Fine had that at some point, and now he does. And yeah, and he managed to turn his game around. And will we have shiny? Yes, shiny. And yeah, if we take a look at the post-game stats here, we can see here that yeah, it all went. You lost your commander early, which was pretty bad, um, and then you followed it up with a decent attack. So yeah, losing that commander was just a big mistake. If you're making a slower composition than your army, than your enemy, I mean, like you were making ravagers and fencers, then you want to be careful with how you move out with your commander, so you don't lose it to like yeah, 3-4 scorchers that can kill your commander if it's completely alone. So yeah, you have to be really careful with how you move about the map if you have a slower composition in this mirror matchup in Ruver versus Ruver. And yeah, you almost salvaged the situation by suiciding your commander against his. It almost died. If you had just been a little bit closer, they would both have gone down. And you were out expanding your opponent at that point, kinda. But then losing that commander means that, yeah, you fall behind in, that's like, how many mixes is that again? That's, yeah, that's 1.5 mixes, so 3 metal income that you lose from that. That's a decent setback. And then your attack was decent, like you denied these mexes, and yeah, you died there. But yeah, you were keeping most of the map at that point. And then I think it was, if you look at the energy income here, then you decided to morph your geothermal when you didn't have enough energy. You had some wind, but wind isn't reliable, so you didn't have enough wind apparently. And then your metal dipped. Even though your enemy had accessed a lot of metal much earlier, you started to access metal instead. Because this was because of that geothermal morph, and then you made those dominatrices which did basically nothing, and you just fell further and further behind in value killed. So yeah, if you have had Scorchers and Darts to counter that Ravager Barrel, you would have been fine. You would have been able to keep that map control. Even though you lost your commander, you would still be ahead in metal income. But yeah, those are my tips for you. So good luck and have fun.